Hi guys, thanks for joining me on Making with Marilyn. On my last video, I set up this Epson EcoTank 2760 as a sublimation printer. So today, I decided to go ahead and make my first sublimation project. And that's how it turned out. This is a Dollar Tree cutting board, and then a design that I got for free off of fontbundles.com. And it turned out really nicely. So I'm going to walk you through the same project, but instead of using a round cutting board, I'll use a square cutting board. I've already printed out my two gnomes, and I did this using Cricut's Print and Cut, and I used this koala sublimation paper. When I ordered it, I actually set out to order the A sub, but it was going to be several days before I could get that. And this had good reviews, so I decided to go for it. Okay, so here's my gnomes already cut out, so let's move on to the next step. Okay, the first thing that I want to do is get these feet off the back of my glass. And you can do this, you can pull them off. They're kind of hard, but you can pull these off, or you can grab some type of scraper tool and scrape them off. Now, I would be careful not to use something that's metal. Maybe you could use a hard rubber or hard plastic spatula from the kitchen, but you want to get these feet off, and then I'm going to save them to put them back on. But there is some gooey remnants. So I'm going to take this to the bathroom, use some hot water. If I need to, I'll use some dish soap or something like that to get them off, but then you want to rinse it and dry it really well. Okay, it's all clean and dry. Now, this has two sides. This has a rough side and it has a smooth side. The rough side is meant to be the top side, and the feet were on the smooth side. So we're going to stay with that. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put some permanent Oracal vinyl on it. This is 651 permanent matte Oracal vinyl. And I ordered this off of Amazon. I ordered either a little 5 or 6 foot roll, and it was about $5. If you order a lot, you can get it less per foot. But I just started sublimation, so I've already invested quite a bit, and I didn't have a lot to invest. Now, a lot of people just cut this by hand. They put their square over it, and they use an X-Acto knife or something to trace around it. I like to use my Cricut when I want to have really precise cuts, and so that's what I did with that. Then I'm going to use this clear contact paper to transfer it to my cutting board. So I'll just start on one corner and lift the backing from the clear transfer tape. Now, I'm just going to pull it back a little bit. That way, I can put it down on one side of my square and really rub it down. And then as I pull toward the camera, I'm rubbing down with my hand to try to keep it really nice and smooth. Then I also have this little screen printing squeegee, so I can take it and try to really get it adhered well. And I also get some of the air bubbles between the premium vinyl, or the permanent vinyl, and the transfer tape out. Alright, so now we're just going to pull our transfer tape back, and that lifts our vinyl right off. Okay, so the rough side's up. I want to put this on the smooth side, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over. And you might notice also I rounded the edges because the edges of this cutting board are rounded. I think I got a little bit more round than the cutting board, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be exact to the back of this. Some people make it larger and then they cut it down with an X-Acto knife. I like to make it just a tiny bit smaller so that it's just clear on the edges, and then you have your vinyl under that. So I'm going to try to set this down as best I can. I've ordered this, I think it was called Rapid Tack. It's a solution that helps you get these down a little bit nicer and easier. Some people use what's called a wet method, and basically it's a spray that's used to be a wet method. Some people just use a little bit of soap and some water, but I watched a guy online that really thought it was a great product, so for like $17 I went ahead and ordered some. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to take my squeegee and really try to work out some of the air bubbles under this. Also, this will help adhere the vinyl to the glass. Now, some of the bubbles that I can see, and you probably can't, they're actually just between the transfer tape and the vinyl. We'll see a lot less bubbles once we take this transfer tape off. And then you can reuse that transfer tape. You don't need to throw it away. So now let's try to get the remaining bubbles out as best we can. Okay, so that's what we have. It's not perfect. You can see that it's off a little bit there, but it's going to be really good. Also, you can probably see through this. There's some little bubbles back there. On my first one, I thought those would show. I really did. And I saw a lady online that said, oh, those are going to come out when you heat press it. And mine did. I was surprised. We'll see if they do this time or not. If you're concerned about them, you can pull it up on a corner. Pull it up till you get to the bubble. Then use your squeegee to just press it back down without bubbles. Well, that worked nicely. I have a few over here, so I'm going to try that on this corner. Now, this vinyl will get stretched out if you work with it too much. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to go to the heat press, and I'm going to press this with the vinyl down for just about 15 seconds or so, just to get any moisture that's in it out and to start the bond. Okay, now here's the heat press I just recently bought off of Amazon. It was a pretty good deal. It was $200 and some, and it came with a hat attachment and a coffee cup attachment, a couple of plate attachments. I'm not all that concerned with those. I really just wanted a decent heat press at a pretty inexpensive price. This one got good reviews, and I knew I wanted a swing away, so that's what I went with. So far, it's worked great. So on the bottom, I'm just going to put a piece of craft paper. Then my next level is going to be a piece of parchment paper. Actually, that might be butcher paper. It's whatever comes with Cricut infusible ink. Then I have my cutting board. And then this is just a plain piece of copy paper. Now this is about medium pressure. There's no set numbers or anything like that. Basically, you're just checking to see if a piece of paper or something will slide out. If it doesn't, and you're not having to really work it to get it put down, that's medium pressure. Okay, everything's really hot, so we're going to let that cool down for just a minute. Now, while I'm letting that cool, I'm going to draw just some corners on my piece of paper behind it, because you'll see in a minute when I'm laying my gnomes down, I'm not going to be able to see through this piece of glass. And so I'm going to put some corners on the paper so that I can just place it on the paper where I think it looks good, and then put my cutting board back on top of it. Okay, that glass is still really hot, so I haven't invested in any heat-resistant gloves yet. So I'm just going to use paper towels to remove it. And then I can place my gnomes where I think they would look good. Okay, that looks pretty good, so I'll put my cutting board right back on top, trying to be very, very careful that I don't move my gnomes. Now, we're going to start out at 90 seconds. It's about 385 degrees. I think I actually have 387 degrees. 90 seconds won't be enough, but I want to show you what it looks like after 90 seconds. We're going to go 90 seconds at least twice and maybe a third time. We'll take a look at it, see what it looks like. Since the sublimation paper is under the cutting board, as long as I don't move the cutting board, I don't have a problem. Okay, notice that you can see the sublimation ink starting to come through, but it has a long way to go. It's not very vibrant yet. So we'll set it for 90 more seconds and check it again. Now we're getting down to the last 15 seconds or so, and I wanted to mention, if you buy a sublimation printer or you convert one to a sublimation printer, the first few times that you print something out, you're going to think, this looks pretty dull. And it does straight out of the printer. But when you sublimate it onto your blank, it looks a lot better. All right, let's see what this looks like after the second 90 seconds. Okay, that looks a lot better, but I'm going to go for one more round. Okay, I think I'll stop there. I'm going to go ahead and turn my heat press off, and then I'll leave this sit right here on the heat press for at least 10 minutes. Okay, it's been about 20 minutes, and this is just barely warm anymore, so I think I can go ahead and peel the back off. Now, I would tell you, do not try to peel the paper on the back off when it's really hot, because you will stretch and ruin your vinyl. And next time I do this, I think I'll put a Teflon sheet under it. Maybe the Teflon sheet wouldn't stick. Okay, so there's 2 layers of things going on here. I have my Teflon sheet or my butcher paper, whatever it was. And then below that, I have the actual sublimation paper. And all of that needs to come off. And it's adhered pretty well. So, what I did was I got a small casserole dish of water. There's no need to stand at the sink and let the water run and run and run to do this. You're just going to waste water. So I'm just going to get this wet. Okay, so I'm going to get that wet. And then as it really gets saturated, you can just rub this off with your fingers. And as long as your vinyl is really nice and down to about room temperature, you're not going to peel it off. The only time you're really going to mess with it is if you try to do it when it's too hot. Okay, so once you get the sublimation paper good and saturated and it has a little time to really soak in, you can see it's just going to come right up. And some sublimation papers might just peel right off. I don't know. This is the only one I've tried. So if you know of one that comes off just by pulling it off, let me know. I'll buy that one next time. Okay, I'm going to give this one good rinse under the sink, and then I'll show you what the front looks like. Okay guys, here's our final products. They are so cute. And this design, like I said, it was off designbundles.com, and it's a free design right now. So go there, join up, and get this design. I have no affiliation with them whatsoever. I just think it's a really great site. Thanks so much for joining me. Until the next video. Bye-bye.